It really hits you sometimes, doesn't it, when you see what's happening in Palestine? You know, that feeling of wanting to help, wanting to do something, but feeling kind of lost as to where to even start.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly what we are diving into today.
Yeah.
We asked you, the listeners, to share something you've been reading about supporting the Palestinian people, and a lot of you pointed us to this really powerful piece.
Right.
It goes beyond just awareness, you know? It really digs into the concrete actions that people can take.
Exactly. And it's that step from awareness to action to active allyship that's often the hardest one to make. And I think this source does a fantastic job of offering like really practical guidance, especially for those within the Muslim community.
Yes, and that's what's so great about it, right? It doesn't just highlight the problems, it really gives you like a roadmap.
Totally.
It lays out, okay, here's what you can do. So let's dive into that roadmap. First up, I think a natural starting point, especially when we're talking about a crisis like this, is fundraising. The source specifically calls out organizations like the Palestine Red Crescent Society, UNRWA, and Islamic Relief. What makes them stand out?
Well, you know, when you're thinking about giving, especially in a situation as urgent as this, you want to make sure that your support is actually, you know, going to the right place and having the most impact. That's where this idea of informed giving comes in, right? And so, you know, the source highlights these organizations specifically because they have a really strong track record.
Okay.
So, for example, the Palestine Red Crescent Society, they're known for being like right there on the ground, providing medical care, often in areas where, frankly, other organizations can't even reach.
Yeah.
And then you have UNRWA, which, you know, they play this incredibly vital role in providing things like education, essential services to Palestinian refugees,
Right.
which frankly is a responsibility that's often kind of neglected on the international stage. And then finally, Islamic Relief, they're doing such essential work, whether it's healthcare, providing clean water access, really addressing those kind of like really immediate dire needs that arise during a crisis.
Right. So, you know, it's really about being strategic with those donations, not just giving blindly.
Yeah.
But of course, you know, money isn't the only way to make a difference.
For sure.
The source really emphasizes the importance of advocacy as well. So what does that look like in the context of what's happening in Palestine?
I think a lot of people, you know, when they hear the word advocacy, they kind of imagine like, you know, someone with a megaphone or you need this huge platform to have your voice heard.
Right.
But one thing I really appreciated about this source was that it emphasized that advocacy is actually a spectrum.
Okay.
It can be something as, you know, seemingly simple as contacting your local officials.
Yeah.
It could be writing a letter to the editor of your local newspaper, or even, you know, engaging thoughtfully, respectfully on social media. These are all forms of advocacy, and each one of those actions, it creates like a ripple effect, right?
Yeah.
It helps to shift the public discourse. It can influence policy over time. And really, what you become is like a strategically placed amplifier for this cause.
I like that.
You know, you're ensuring that your voice, even if it feels small, is actually reaching those people who have the power to make a difference.
So you're not just a voice in the crowd, you're a voice that can actually reach those decision makers.
Exactly.
Now, on that note, the source does offer a word of caution, which is, you know, something I think we need to talk about, which is the issue of misinformation.
Oh, for sure.
Especially with a topic like this that can be, you know, understandably so, very emotionally charged, especially online. Fact-checking feels like more crucial than ever.
Oh, absolutely, because emotions run high, opinions clash, and, you know, unfortunately, misinformation thrives in those kinds of environments. So it's more important than ever to really stick to those credible sources. Be really wary of content that feels, you know, intentionally sensationalized or designed to kind of just provoke an emotional reaction.
Yeah.
Remember, informed advocacy is effective advocacy. You know, taking that extra step to verify information is really important.
Really solid advice for navigating the online world in general.
Definitely.
Okay, let's shift gears a little bit because the source brings up another point that I think will resonate with a lot of our listeners, which is the idea of education.
Yeah.
It's that old saying, you know, knowledge is power. But how does that apply in this situation?
Well, it's about, you know, going beyond just the headlines, going beyond the sound bites, and really taking the time to understand the nuances of this incredibly complex issue. It's about learning the history and not just, you know, the recent events, but understanding, like, the long-lasting impact of colonization on daily Palestinian life.
Right.
Asking yourself, how does something like restricted movement affect a person's access to healthcare, to education? What are the economic implications when you have limited access to resources? And when you deeply understand those realities, I think it just adds, it makes your advocacy that much more impactful. It's not just, rattling off facts. It's about speaking from a place of deep understanding, of empathy, really connecting with the human stories behind the headlines.
Yeah, it adds a whole other level of weight and meaning to your actions. Now, here's a point that often gets overlooked in these conversations, and this source brings it up, which is the idea of supporting Palestinian businesses. So, in the context of everything we've been talking about, what's the significance of that?
This point actually really resonated with me because it's about kind of taking that step beyond just, reacting to a crisis and actually recognizing the resilience and the ingenuity of the Palestinian people.
Okay.
So when you make a conscious choice to buy Palestinian-made goods, whether it's something like olive oil or textiles or even just like beautiful handcrafted items, you're participating in this really powerful form of economic resistance. Every purchase is like a vote of confidence, saying, I see you, I support you, I believe in your ability to thrive, even in the face of adversity.
It's putting your money where your heart is, quite literally.
Exactly.
And finally, the source really emphasizes the power of unity, particularly within the Muslim community, when it comes to supporting Palestine. What are your thoughts on that?
I think we see it time and time again, the power of genuine and strategically channeled solidarity. If you think about any successful movement for social change, it wasn't just about, a group of people being angry or frustrated. It was about having a unified vision for something better. And I think, as this source points out for the Muslim community in particular, there is such a powerful sense of shared faith, a shared history that can be mobilized to create real change.
So as we kind of wrap up our deep dive today, I think it boils down to this. The source we looked at, it gives us, the listeners, a fantastic toolkit for action. But it also kind of leaves you with this question, while this was specifically addressing actions for Muslims, are there other ways to build even broader alliances?
Yeah.
Could there be more interfaith dialogues grounded in these shared values of justice and peace that could really amplify the impact, that could help create a more just future for everyone involved?
Yeah.
It's definitely something to think about.
It is.
So thank you for diving into this really important conversation with us. And until next time, keep asking those tough questions and keep seeking out those pathways to make a difference.